What up?
Hi.
Yeah,
Hi.
What is going on, everyone?
How we doing? How we doing?
I'm all good, guys. How are you lot? How's your days been?
Ah, that's
That
like
was
a
a sigh.
You know what? When that was asked before, I know that I dipped, but I
yeah.
heard the end of your day, and I know your day has been a heavy one. So it's up to you if you feel like disclosing anymore. But yeah, it's been a heavy one.
Yeah, just know violence is happening, and this is why we do Hearts of Talent. So I've been dealing with the effects of people experiencing violence, getting stabbed, and so this gives me the energy more to keep doing what we're doing now. So we can
Mhm.
So let
start
me
to
stop
help.
you. Let's actually do our full introduction before we get carried away within the
Yeah,
time. Yeah?
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
get dig it in. So who's starting? Who's going? Who's going? Anybody?
You're
You can go.
speaking. You should. Yeah,
Hi guys, welcome to Heart to Hearts. We have our lovely guest, Lemzi. This always confuses me. Which way are you? That way. That way.
In my one on top right. Yeah, Jerome's got
It's
everything
confusing.
right. Yeah,
We've got Lemzi. We've got who
Jerome.
else with me?
Jerome down there.
I got Jerome, and then I got I'm way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lemzi out there.
So, welcome to our episode 5 of our podcast, our talk show. It is going to be a real intense one. Guys, what's our topic for today?
The
He wants to
music industry.
Survival.
Lovely place. Yeah.
So, we've got Lemzi with us today. Lemzi, do you want to introduce yourself to the people that are watching, your fellow fans, Amoy's fans coming up here?
Yeah, who? I can't see anything.
The musicians up there, your fans should be
You're not
watching
seeing
these.
him.
So, you would introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry, no, it just went to black spinning wheels all of a sudden for everyone. Sorry.
Oh.
Yes, my name is Lemzi. That's Lemzi. I am I'm just a guy who loves doing music and creative stuff, to be honest with you. I've got singles, albums, EPs, etc. out there, but I also host events. I'm currently helping develop an app called Spoke, which is all around mixing music with mindfulness and meditative practices. I have a few different ideas for business ventures. Some are being manifested, some are still ideas, but ultimately I'm a guy who's a doer. I'm a doer. I'm one of those grafters.
So this topic fits in with you because it's all about your world. I'm going to throw Moy in there too because it's going to be her world soon. So, I can even compare you two. Yes, boy, you swear people be watching out for Moy and her music coming out real soon. Lemzi. So you two together, myself and Jerome are going to cause fire between you two. Just know.
No, please do it. Let's see where it goes.
So last week we had a really cool in discussion with Amoy, and it basically was about the reality of the music industry. Yeah. And I know this is a big thing for artists. A lot of artists go into the industry and they're just like, they have this idea about what it is. And this is also the TV industry as well. And then they don't realize the amount of work, the amount of facade, the fakeness, there's so much levels to this stuff. So we wanted to we spoke with Amoy, who's new into the industry, but we wanted to also speak to you about it in terms of like, you've been in the industry for a while now, and just kind of get your insight and how you've been able to maintain your integrity as well. Because I think for me, you stand out in that you've kept your integrity, you've kept, your morals, your values, and all these things. So how has that been for you operating in this kind of industry, which is kind of not always the best at helping people to hold up their integrity?
It's so good that you use the word integrity, because literally I was having a conversation with management and another artist the other day, and whilst we were having a conversation around like what's missing, what do you feel your brand is, as I was just talking about what I do, the resulting point was that what I feel I emphasize just as a creative is effort and integrity, and it's because the effort side is literally, like as you said, I've been doing this for a long time, and it takes a lot of effort and wherewithal to sustain yourself in whatever industry it is, but my particular field is music. So in doing that, it takes so much effort because it's draining. It's a vision that you're going off. A lot of the time, you're going off some form of delusion that you believe this thing is really, really going to work. And then you have to manifest and make these things actually occur in real life. So that's the effort factor. And I think because I've put in effort and seen certain results, it kind of gives the perspective that there is success or some value in what I do. So that's one side. The other side is the integrity factor that you said as well. And with integrity, to me, that's all just about trying to be and maintain your most authentic self. And that's not about your best self. It's just your most authentic self. So your most authentic could be your worst moments, your lowest moments, times where you're really, really feeling the pressure or struggles, but you sustain yourself just because you're like, do you know what? This is real. This is what it is right now. I might be quiet for a moment, or I might express all of that to let you know what's kind of going on. So to your question about like, how have I felt about maneuvering through the industry and stuff like that, and or maintained any form of integrity, I think the biggest thing for me is that I've kind of like shoveled my own lane that I would believe is outside of the industry. It's still within it because I still operate in the frameworks of what happens in music. I still have music on Spotify or YouTube, and I've been in the charts before and da-da-da-da-da. So it is still there, but I think for me and for a few other artists that I know, it's very much about, cool, how are you going to sustain yourself and build the idea of what you want to reach and accomplish? I think the only way to like maintain your integrity fully is to be in control of what you're trying to do. And depending on what your objective is, you're going to relinquish some of that control at different stages, different volumes, etc. For me, so far, I haven't really had to relinquish any/much. So that's probably why anything that you might see from me, whether it's music, conversations like we're having now, etc., it's always me and what like I believe in that moment in time. So yeah, that's kind of how I frame it.
That's powerful. Thank you. Anyone?
How does that fit into then kind of being successful? Like you said, you've been in the charts, you have your music on platforms.
Mm-hmm.
How, address it to Amoy, how can she get there just like you?
Okay, so Amoy.
How can other people, not just Amoy, but other people as well? Amoy, obviously, she's the closest thing to us, but how can other people like her, inspiring artists, get to where you are?
Yeah, okay. So disclaimer, or the first thing I'd like to say is like, although I am wherever the perception of where I am is right now, there's so many places above me or where I'm still seeking to get towards myself. And there's so many things that I'm navigating and working out as I go along. So what I would say actually to that point, especially, is get some help, because you as the creative, you as the artist, your strength, your biggest strength anyway, is in you creating. Like me as an independent artist, one thing that I know that I really want to pass to other people that really want to get stuck into doing music is that there are so many things you can put your mind to. Like for instance, this is my own merchandise. That's a whole thing that you have to concentrate on and give attention to detail towards and stuff like that. Same thing with when I do events. Again, like I have to go into event organizer, event promoter, event curator kind of mode. If you want to be a really, really just successful artist, try and prioritize and put your art and your creativity at the forefront of what you're doing as much as possible, as much as humanly possible. So that's number one, if you want to really see some success in what you're doing. Number two is be patient with it. Be patient and enjoy it, because what is success at the end of the day? I was having a conversation with people not long ago about when Stormzy did Glastonbury, and you could see it on his face that he knew this was a moment, like soak in that moment, because it's huge to be the first young Black British person to headline Glastonbury's main stage, 100,000 people, etc. But once it's done, after like an hour and a half, however he was on stage for, things carry on going. So like that level of success, it doesn't matter. There's still something else that your Stormzy or whoever is still going to think, all right, cool, now I want to do X, Y, Z. Enjoy each of these moments and find time to reflect on them, because I've had stuff that has happened and gone very, very well. And because of just the way my mind works, of all right, cool, what am I doing now? Let me run to the next thing, because I was very much before 2020 just chasing this idea of where I want to be. I didn't really stop and ever think, oh, that actually was good, you know, like I've done quite well there. Well done. Like, clap yourself sometimes. Be proud of the small steps as well as the bigger moments as well. Especially as an independent artist where you will have to have your own back more than anything. There's probably a bunch more stuff, but I know I've said a lot here, so I want to just break things up if possible.
Yeah, no, that's like kind of touching on what you're saying as well. Like, as someone who is independent and like I'm only starting off, so it's always the small things for me. So as much as I don't see like the bigger picture, sometimes the small things help you in the long run because it helps
100%.
you to like bigger stuff. Like I've had disappointments where I do in small things, and I have to learn how to kind of get over that. Like where you feel disappointed, it's like, okay, cool, but the world's still ticking at the end of the day. You get what I'm saying?
That's it.
What still goes on. So you're gonna have to try and do something, and well, not do something. You're gonna have to try to get over that emotion that you're feeling because you're gonna get disappointments anyways.
100.
And also, as a little artist, it's like I feel like there's also like a stigma where it's like, oh, you know, you have to be big, you know, or your goal is to be big. Your goal shouldn't really be big. It's whatever your artistry is, you want everyone to listen to it. And that's what mine kind of stemmed off. Like at first, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, like I didn't want to be big. Like who doesn't?
Yeah.
But I had to really learn and understand that, you know, I want people to hear what I'm making. You get what I'm saying? Where I'm not making things just. I'm not telling lies in my story. You get me? I want to actually where people are like, you know what? I've been through the same thing, because everyone kind of forgets that celebrities are humans at the end of the day, and they go through the same things as us. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right.
That was just my.
No, you're right. And to the question of success, it really comes down to how you're determining it. Because for some people, I say whenever I have done workshops with young people, I haven't done one for a little while. Actually, no, I did one a few months ago. But anyway, there's two main questions that I always like get them to think about for themselves. And number one is, what is your why? So why are you so keen on doing this music thing? Like, or whatever it is, but let's say music, why do you want to do it? Is it because you want to get famous? Is it because you want to earn money? Is it because you want to pay that next bill? Is it because you want to have songs in the charts? Is it because you love creativity and art? Whatever it is, it's fine. Just be honest about it. And that's probably going to determine whether you are successful or not, if you can accomplish that thing for that person. And the other one is, what is your story? Like, as you've just explained, where you want to tell people about you as a character, because you and your creativity, your USP is that you are you. It's not any more deep than that. It's just you are you, and that is your story. Like, no one can ever take that away from you, even though everyone else, or not everyone else, loads of people do music and it's so competitive, and you know, it's really, really hard because it takes a lot of effort. The fact that you are telling your story and you can tell your story better than anybody else can is something that you will always have. So just keep going with that.
Can I ask about responsibility? So you've both obviously responded to your ability, but do you see do you see that there is a responsibility within your work or within your message? So do you feel like you have a responsibility to be, you know, putting out certain messages to give people certain good energy? Like, is that in your creative process?
I think it's within my creative process, just because it's within my ethos as a human. Like, that's what I try and do for myself. I'm very much about self-improvement and self-elevation in a holistic sense as much as possible. And I think last year, 2020, what that really did for me was highlight how much I'd previously put so much into Lemzi, creative artist, business person, whatever these titles are, that the human side of me, just, my name's Alex, by the way. Hey guys, my name's Alex. Nice to meet you. But Alex was neglected. Like, he didn't feel great. He wasn't doing too much. And the reason that a lot of these messages will go into, the reason I implore a lot of these messages anyway, is not because I feel some sense of obligation as a narrator or as an orator or as an author to do so. It's just that within my daily life is stuff that I like to do. I journal sometimes, I read, I go to the gym /exercise. I like to eat good food that I feel will make me feel good. I like to digest information that I also think will make me think in a different way. But again, it's very subjective. I don't think every artist necessarily has to have that ethos, because a lot of the times, if you're living your most authentic self, it can be very, very dark. It can be very, very gritty. It can be very, very disturbing for a lot of people. But it doesn't mean don't disclaim it, don't tell us about it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Amoy, do you see yourself having a responsibility?
Yeah, I do. But at the same time, like, and this is where I think people need to understand people as an artist. We're still human. We're gonna make mistakes. So can't just look at me as someone, oh, I'm gonna be just like Omoy, because I've done some stuff to become Omoy. Do you get me? It's not easy path. Like, I didn't take the easiest route to become Omoy. It was hard. I had to go through stuff and I had to learn things. So it's one thing we need to normalize for artists and people in general is that we're human. We're bound to make mistakes because that's what humans do. My responsibility is, if I'm gonna be a person that projects positivity, then I gotta live by that. I can't let people come see me like fighting and stuff, which is not my character. I don't fight. Like, if I had to, I would. But you know, I'm real. Like, if I have to. But my natural character is not to fight because I don't believe in them kind of things. That like carry your how you want to be respected. You get me?
Yeah, fully.
Respect someone who's always going to be like, oh yeah, like, calm down, man. It's not that way.
Yeah. And
if you lot can read that as well, like, if you're going to do it for money, it's going to feel like a burden. Always be passionate about what you do. That is so true. You got my husband.
That's true.
What Amoy was saying actually leads into sexuality, but also, I guess, how you're perceived. So if you are like an angry person, for instance, does that kind of come out in your music? I mean, it leads into, I guess, sexuality as well. Just because you're a woman or man and you, I guess, sex has been normalized now. Everybody obviously has human needs, but how do we go in deeper about it? Like, what is your opinion in that instance? Like, if somebody is literally a raging bull, does that come across in their music 24/7? Are they always aggressive, talking about killing people, doing all sorts of hoo-ha? And then same for sexuality. Do the girls just talk about bits and bobs and guys just talk about bits and bobs and doing it, like getting into the nitty gritty, literally about sleeping with this person, that person?
So to the first one, which is like your emotional outlet and how you do that, I think a lot of that is determined by positive reinforcement or not. Because if you look at Eminem, for instance, he wasn't conscious, that wasn't the word, but he was quite a self-aware rapper, and he was actually like just a decent normal hip-hop guy at the very beginning of his career. When he realized that wasn't really working for him, he was hearing other people like Big L or Cage or different artists in America who were a bit more horrorcore, a bit more graphic. And then as soon as he flipped into that with the whole Slim Shady alter ego thing, he got signed by Dr. Dre. He sold millions of records. He did world tours. He got loads and loads of what we called or define as success within the music industry. And at that stage in his life, based on stuff that he seems to have said in later music or interviews, etc., he was very angry. He was taking drugs. He had a lot of rage and a lot of resentment for people, especially people close to him, kind of thing. Now, yes, that's going to be reflected in your music if you are someone like Eminem, because that is your reality. You feel that way. And I think the reason why it continued for so long is because you got so much positive reinforcement for it. People are singing your lyrics. People are buying your merch. People are buying your album. Like, as long as that you have that level of positive reinforcement for what you're doing, you're going to continue doing it, because no one is not enough people are telling you no. And for certain artists, even the no's is actually an incentive to just keep doing it more and more, because you want to make sure that your name is still within the ether somewhere, it's still being spoken about, and it still continues whatever you are doing. So from the emotional side of stuff, whether it's angry or whatever it is, because I guess Meek Mill is another example. He's someone who's been in that lifestyle, and he's grown up in an aggressive, angry environment. So of course that's going to be reflected in his tone of voice, in the lyrics that he decides to use. Drill music, like we hear, it's reflective of something. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. These emotions are stemming from somewhere. And yeah, I tend to believe that they continue because there's positive reinforcement to do so. When it comes to the sexuality question, that differs slightly, because I don't think it's necessarily about the positive reinforcement stemming from the creative themselves. I think that's more whoever is guiding or whoever's guiding or influencing the narrative for what artists should do. I think that's very much when it comes to like, okay, cool, you artist XYZ, we want you to kind of go in this vein and start promoting XYZ. And that comes into sexuality, that comes into violence, because I can't remember, Jerry Heller and whoever signed NWA at the beginning, there was a whole move away from conscious hip hop, a very, very implicit and what's the word? Basically, they meant to do it where they said, cool.
There was a whole meeting about it.
There was a whole there was a meeting just to say, guys, we're steering away from all of this KRS, Public Enemy, conscious. We want all of this gangster stuff to be at the forefront because we can see how it's impacting young suburban white kids. We can see that it's going crazy, but we see that they're buying this stuff and it's big, it's impactful. This is the narrative that we're going with now. And that's why we saw a plethora of gangster rap. And to this day, we still do, because same thing in movies, same thing in gaming, same thing in whatever. Those are the things that sell because it allows people to live a life that they just don't. There's some excitement, there's some danger, there's some risk that they probably don't have in their day-to-day lives. And again, that goes to the sexuality. A lot of people will find that even if they are not like overtly very sexual, they find a lot of affinity to somebody who might be, because all of a sudden that person is expressing they're expressing a part of them that they never get to express.
Yeah, it's like what we were talking about earlier with like Cardi B and stuff. Like, it's just the subject about sexuality is kind of a weird one, because it's like that's what people use to sell their stuff. Like they feel like it's okay, but at the same time, it's like you could be successful without being sexualized.
Yeah,
that's an interesting point. Do you know what? That's an interesting point. Would Cardi B be as successful if she did not, quote unquote, sexualize herself as much? Would Nicki Minaj if she didn't?
I'm gonna say yes, Cardi B, because if you saw her before, she is the same person as she was before. She didn't change. That's who she was.
So what happened?
I don't know. Like it gave her TV. Like before, remember we got. Go on.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the monster of the machine has created this. I think she can be. There's a potential back, but the industry just wouldn't let her through. Unless
so would you say that about Miley Cyrus? Because Miley Cyrus she had Hannah Montana, she came out as Miley, and then she obviously came out as what she did on that award show.
Disney Miley Cyrus couldn't survive in the music industry the same way she has had. You see, she's had to change her whole demeanor. Sweet Rihanna has had to be sexualized. When Rihanna first came in, she was doing just nice music. No, she's still sexy without all of that. But it's that I think if there was a way that you could start moving people to, because in reality this is not real. That's all fake stuff. None of them can live up to this sexuality, and this is why we're getting all this sexual abuse coming, because guys or people seem to think, oh yeah, this is what reality is. They start playing out what they think reality based on what these artists are singing about, and everyone's like, yeah, let's sexualize women. We got permission. You haven't got permission. This is just her expressing a side of her. It's not her. Does that make sense? So people are getting a limited perspective and making assumptions, and this is where we're getting sexual abuse, because people are being programmed to think this is how women are, all women are, and they can't live up to that. That's just mad.
That's true. That ties into like the other question, which is like how to be successful in identifying the pitfalls before falling in. So how they don't really tell no one in the blueprint that you got to be sexual and you're gonna have to do this. You got no choice. Like how do they kind of by that. Like, and that's what this is why the music industry is a sad industry, but it's fun at the same time. It's just how you
contracts.
But I think that's also an identity issue within people. I personally think it has to be something within a person to exploit that, to have that as your alter ego, however many you may have. There has to be some sort of issue within that person's identity.
That's true.
Is it all just staged? Is it literally just staged?
Well, it's weird that a lot of people in the industries they start to give them ulterior identities, which it makes sense, but also it makes me think. I wonder why that is. Like Nicki Minaj has got her old whatever identity. A few people have started.
You know what I believe that is? I believe that for a lot of artists, it's their way of cope. It's a coping mechanism. That's what I generally think. I think that to be yourself and to have to deal with either the people that are asking you to do X, Y, Z, drag you from this corner to that corner, then deal with the public because you're dealing with a level of public opinion that none of us would even be aware of. I think for your own sanity of mind, you probably do end up creating this alter ego of like, okay, cool. When it's time to switch on, I am whoever artist X is gonna say that they are. And then when it's time to just be at home with my kids, somebody, I think Amoy, you mentioned earlier that Cardi B apparently doesn't even let her kids listen to her music. When Cardi B's on, she's on, as we saw with her and Meg Thee Stallion at that award show where they performed. It may have been the Grammys, for instance. But then at home, she's not doing any of that, not in front of her children, especially, kind of thing. And as I said, I think it's more their coping mechanism of, okay, if this ideal, i.e. I am at the Grammys and I'm performing and I'm chart topping and I'm the most successful artist financially and proliferation wise, that's what I got to do. But when I'm off, oh my gosh, I got to chat. I got to just chill and switch all of that alter ego out. Even when I described the separation of Lemzi and Alex, like, and I'm nowhere near any of that kind of stature, but I know that there's a difference in myself of, cool, it's time to be on, time to do music, time to get the business acumen going, or it's time to just cook some food and eat and watch a bit of whatever's on Netflix. There's a difference.
No, I can relate to that one as well, because like there's only a slight difference between who you are on stage and who you are as a real person. Like, not saying like you say, like there's a slight difference, but you're not different. Like for me, if I'm performing on stage, you would see more of a confidence for me. Like when I'm off the stage, I'm like, I can't take compliments, so I become very shy and I become like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like very, like, I can say this as well, I'm conscious of myself when I'm performing on stage, and that's the good gospel truth. Because everyone feels like you as an artist should be very confident. Like the other day, I must have went to my mum and dad's shop, and there's a barber that love him to bits, and he was saying, "Oh, I was expecting you to come in there and say, yeah, that's me," like, because he saw the song that we put out, which was right. So he was just like, he said he had an expectation of me to be like, "Oh yeah, like I done that," and I'm just like, no, because I don't know what you want me to do. Like I can't. There's just something in me where I'm not at that level, and even when I get at that level, I'm still. It's humbleness at the end of the day. That's what it was for me. Like just being humble, because everyone expects you to be a certain way, and it's just like I'm the complete opposite of that, man. Like who you see on stage is a different person you see like walking around in the street.
That's real power, you know, because there's only certain artists where they will, especially in hip hop anyway, where they'll use their real name, and their real name will hold them down because they know that even if they get hollered in the street, they won't compromise who they are at all. It will just be, I am Tupac Shakur, I am Akala, I am whoever uses their real name. Kendrick Lamar, for instance. That's the expectation that you give yourself when it's like, cool, I'm me at all times. Like this stage version of me is the same as I'm walking in a barbershop version of me. You're going to get the same character or demeanor kind of thing, which that's another level of courage and humility that really goes with that, because it says, cool, you're going to get everything. You're going to get everything at all times.
So, Lemzi, what advice would you have for anyone coming into the industry in terms of like navigating this industry in a way which kind of keeps you in balance? Because I think that's the key really, is that you find that a lot of people kind of come off balance, they get dragged into all sorts of different things. So what advice would you have for anyone who is interested in this industry?
I think if we're talking balance specifically, is to really understand your artist side and then just your regular human side, like when you're not in the studio. Because for a lot of artists, especially when you really get into it, like I do, doing music is work to me. That's how I view music now. Before, it was just a passion, a love, a hobby. And now that it's become work, it's like, okay, cool. What actually is just my hobbies and my downtime kind of thing? What do I have that balances that out now? So I think that when you're really getting into it, you need to make sure that you still have those things for yourself, whether it is going to the cinema or going for walks or catching up with grandparents, whatever your thing might be or things might be, just to sustain them and maintain them as you get bigger and bigger and do more and more of your work, your music and everything. Number two, someone put it in the chat actually, which is very important, is to first of all understand that there's music and then there's music business.
Yeah.
Try and become as proficient at both of them as much as you can, but you are the artist. So the number one thing is, remember, the music should take priority. If you are just starting out, number one thing, get in the studio. Get in the studio as much as possible, because there's a technique to being in the studio. There's a certain fluidity and consistency you get once you're in the studio a lot. Like you tap into parts of yourself you don't even realize are there. Which is why I said at the beginning, all the stuff like clothing and merch and events, like, cool, do that if you really want to, but it will take away from your studio time, your real craft and your art. So those are the two things that I would say.
Thank you.
And I agree with that as well. Like, again, talking from the artist's perspective, it's just like, it's okay to work on yourself, but you got to really work on your craft. And is there a reason why you call yourself an artist as well? That's from a question. I know my reason, but what's the reason?
Yeah. Is there a reason I call myself an artist? Yeah, because I view what I do as, I don't actually call myself a musician, funnily enough. And I think that's maybe because I don't know how to read music and I don't play any instruments. So I don't call myself a musician, but I call myself an artist because I feel that if I am creating an idea in my head and then I have managed to just, out of the resources I have, put this thing together, and it is artistic because it can be manipulated in different ways. It can be fluid, whether it's vocal inflection, the sound of the production, etc. That's why I categorize myself as an artist. That's why I put myself in that bag.
Thank you. We've got a question from Jasmine. Lemzi, how long do you see yourself in the industry for?
That's a really good question, you know. That's a great question.
Forever.
I've been doing music as my number one priority for the last 5 years. I've been doing music just as like something that I really care about and love, or just been interested in since I was 10, but number one priority for the last 5 years. My main thing in my head is that I want to make the album of the decade next, and then a very good album after that. And then from there, my role, hopefully, I would have put myself in a position to really like help other artists come through, basically, whether that's through management, through a label, through whatever feels right at the time. But I think that my own music past maybe those next couple of albums will still happen, but it might not be as much of the priority. But I'll still be in the industry. I think as long as I'm around and I love music, that's how long I'll be in music. So do I believe there's a retirement age?
Like, do you believe there's a retirement age?
No.
Exactly.
I think stop when
Michael
you want.
Jackson and all these artists that have passed away, they still ain't retired. Their music's still playing.
Exactly. You only stop when you want to stop, but look at all these rock artists, man. They're like 80 years old and they're still doing live shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Why not? If you really want to write new music, even if you want to perform the same, if you're Lauryn Hill and you just want to perform the same album for 70 years, go for it. Why stop?
And also, I got another question as well, because recently we had the Billboard Awards. And for me, I feel like it's check, you get me? Like, And the reason I say it's a shake is because I feel like certain artists don't get their flowers.
Just to clarify, everyone, what is shaked for those who don't know?
Right, shake is like
English, please.
Sorry, like I don't really know the term for it. It's basically
rigged, maybe rigged.
Can we get the Oxford Dictionary out?
Rigged, for real, the Urban Dictionary. That's what you need.
It's basically rigged. Like that's what shake is, like rigged. So like I feel like that's my personal opinion about it because, like I said, there's certain artists that's been in this game for years and for time. Like the categories that I see the people that I see that win in these categories, it's like cool, they make music, but they're not as consistent as these other people who's been here for time and keep putting out bangers. They're not making it because they feel like it. It's because that's they enjoy this. And I feel like they don't give the flowers to people. And also certain categories as well don't get recognition, like spoken word artists and like dancers. Because I feel like dancers should be involved in this.
I completely agree with you. I think when it comes to award shows, I never usually get too into them simply because I form my own opinion of music. And with a lot of the award shows, let's look at the Grammys, for instance. Like, who's judging? Who are these people? Why did Macklemore win instead of Kendrick Lamar when he dropped such a great... Like, there's so many questions every single year. The Weeknd at the last one I don't even think he was nominated for anything, despite his music being as successful as it was. So, I don't...
Movies and stuff like that.
Bro, his music was everywhere. Like, it was undeniably Grammy nominated worthy. Even though I haven't even listened to it, but I know that much because I know that his music's everywhere kind of thing. Yeah. With the billboards, maybe it's slightly different because that is based on where your music has landed over a certain period of time. But ultimately, when it comes to the award shows, I don't put too much stake in them just because I always feel like, cool, if I know that this has been my favorite album of the year, for instance, it doesn't matter what you're going to tell me about which one's the album of the year kind of thing. It's great for the artists. And I do think artists do actually have like a reason to feel like they've been hard done by if they haven't even been nominated, let alone won. Because again, a lot of the time when it's signed artists, you're creating an album for a reason. DJ Khaled was so angry that Tyler the Creator's album beat his to #1. DJ Khaled's album was #2, so it's not even like it was bad, but it was an outrage to him because that album had been created to make hits and sell as #1 on the charts. That was the objective of that piece of work. It wasn't to make the best album or to make everlasting music. It was to be #1. So yeah, it depends on the objective.
See, that's kind of...
I just want to throw in something there, if I can.
Please
but it's #1 to who? As you said, because a lot of these award ceremonies, it's like a certain demographic of people who are not really in the industry like that or don't appreciate the music are there from the outside celebrating. Yeah. So like sometimes I think, why are we so caught up in the awards when that's actually not important? Because these same people that we're submitting to are not people that actually care about culture.
Exactly.
You know,
let me elaborate on that with what Jerome's saying. Today I saw a post and it basically said who's the best artist out of the decade, and it was 3 people. There was Dave, Skepta, and Stormzy. And the comments were just bashing Dave, and they're like, oh, but Dave a decade ago would make him 12. But he's come out with some really good stuff. That hurt me, the way that they were just bashing him like that. Like, give the man, you know, a slack. Like he's done good for his age. And does that play into kind of the industry with what kind of Jerome's saying, with like the people that are out there with the awards? Are they kind of older generations?
A lot of the people that control the industry don't understand the culture.
Yeah, no.
So they understand the business, but they don't understand the culture of the music and the richness of it. So that's why they now need to employ people who actually understand the culture. Your A&Rs need to be those people that appreciate the music, because now they're moving out of touch. But they're still the ones who pull the strings.
100%, because a lot of that's why there's music and music business. Music business means, do you know how to exploit these assets that are created in this music world? That's all that this side is all about. Like, if you can do that, then you're successful. Whereas here, it's if you can create the most innovative, fresh, really impactful sounds that's how you're successful here. And the two kind of come to loggerheads where people don't understand, like, this is what my objective is and this is what my objective is. And there was something you just, oh yeah, Angelina, you said about Dave. Yeah, I think that's harsh that people even threw him in there, because yeah, like if it was the last 5 years, then we can have that conversation. But a decade, even with those three artists, I think, would I pick any? I don't know. It's very, very subjective. And that's again why, like, the whole awards thing, I think it's good for accolades, or where there's statistics that you're maybe basing it on, because that's like, cool, most sales, so you won most sales awards, makes sense. But to say something's the best or been the best, it's always going to be subjective in my head.
Yeah.
100.
Any final points? I'm looking at the time. We're at 8:10.
We got over.
There's a last question there. Do you want me to answer that question? Do we have time for that? Or
yeah. What makes you stand out amongst other artists?
Cool. If it's about me specifically, then as I said right at the beginning, who I am is my USP. You're not going to get my story or my perspective, my ideology or anything from anywhere else better than I can tell it. So if you're interested in the lifestyle that I have, well, not lifestyle, but the stuff that I do, the stuff that I perceive and how I then put it together, which I would say is also quite unique, that's what makes me stand out. The fact that I have a different perspective, a different way of going about things, a different upbringing to different people. Like, yeah, that's what I'd say. My narrative is different to everybody else's.
Just hear the Hearts of Talent banger, and then you hear Lemzi jump in like,
yeah.
you're like, what?
Yeah, Angelina wasn't happy with me. I was trying to get her to dance. She was trying to get me to jump in as well.
Don't throw me in. I'm retired. Yeah, the retirement age is me.
So yeah, there is a retirement age now.
Angelina, you still got like another 30 years in you. Don't talk to me.
Guess I wear glasses. I'm old.
Okay, people, disclaimer, we're not saying that anyone with glasses is old, okay?
Not me.
And she's like,
red-handed.
Talk about myself, yeah, people. Myself. Do you know what? That track is such a banger. Axa Amoy, when we launched, I was just freaking out. And on the actual shooting of it with Lemzi, he was just in like his element. Just how he looked at the cameras and everything, it was mad. It was like, literally, it was so professional, so calm. You could see that is where like your heart is based. And it's just so nice being of color now, being out there, being a Black artist, and you can do that. You don't have anybody telling you how to do and how to act. Same with Amoy. Amoy nailed it for like the first time in front of how many people. Guys, the Hearts of Talent soundtrack coming out, the first one of many.
Bang on.
Just put fire there. Somebody put fire in the comments.
My mom was like, what the hell? This is a banger. Like she's like, this is a banger. And she listens to like, she's a white woman who loves like Rastaman music. You know? So for her to say it's a banger, you brought her over. So yeah, man.
Hey, Amoy, high five, let's go.
These two here, like the collab with everybody. I go back to being retired. There is no age. I just felt a bit rusty myself. Yeah. So just let me ease back into that. I'll be in Lemzi's next music video, guys. Catch me and catch Amoy there together too. I'm not hitting myself.
This is recorded, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, like it's happening. Like, I've got your number, so it's happening.
Amoy, I'm nominating you too. Wherever I go, she's going.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yes.
So out of that, guys, look at that. We've now got Angie back dancing again.
Come out my retirement age, back into it. There's never, it's never too late.
You could
have a child
back into it.
Because we're kind of slightly, like, we're more than slightly over time.
I
kind of got to close it out, but not close it out in a sense of where we're finishing, just because it was the George Floyd Day today, and it's still carrying on, and as one of us was affected, we just want to know, how do I say this without becoming political? It's a thing where justice has been served in some sense, but at the same time, we are still working to get to the end goal. So to do that, we have a video that was taken with some of the arts and talent people singing. So I don't know if you lots want to close out, and then I can like do the video.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. So I'll play the video now, and then we'll close out.
Cool.
So stay tuned for this one.
I was born by the river in a little town, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will.
It's been too hard living without the faith to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I go to the movies and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me you hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know change will come. Oh, yes, it will.
And I go to my brother, and I say, brother, help me, please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees.
Oh, there've been times that I thought I wouldn't last for long, but now I think I may fall, able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change will come. Oh, yes, it will. Wow.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh.
Well done, team. Well done. You just needed mics. Next time, get some mics, man, so we can hear you more clearly. But I love it.
We'll do that again. Sometimes.
Yeah, do it. Do a proper
in the studio
version.
and
Mic
everything.
up.
Yeah, that was you know, that was a year ago. That was for like the 7 o'clock clap. So we went to all the hospitals and performed for people. So
Wow.
Nice.
that happened around the same time of George Floyd's killing as well. So hence why we sang that song, because the change has to come and the change will come, and that is the main priority for anything. Like, we're against anything that is to harm people and just to, you know, like, crazy. It's a crazy world we live in. It's hard to say stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But this is why we're doing this. We're focused on what we can do instead of what we can't do and what's not going. We're focused on the positive side of things, because you know, we've seen the problems. We've seen how divisive and how you know, governments are working and things are being orchestrated to put us in fear and to cause destruction. But guess what? That changes us. And so we're coming for them with positive vibes, sing, dance, rap, spoken word. Yeah. Everything. So people, yeah, man. Lemzi, thank you for your time, bro. We know you're a busy guy nowadays because you're doing a lot at the moment. I see you all the time, man. On the social medias, you're just putting in that work. I love it.
I can't lie. Right now it's active season, in it, but I will take a little break soon.
No break for Lemzi because he's also one of our brand ambassadors. So category ambassador, I should say, not even brand.
Spoken
category ambassador for spoken
good
word.
Spoken word soon, man. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the entries.
Yes. So at the bottom is the audition details. Amoy, you want to touch more base?
What did you say?
Touch more of a bigger base with our auditions process.
Okay, so if you guys have a 60-second clip of a spoken word, rap, singing, and dance, submit a 60-second clip. And if you're a filmmaker, it's a 90-second clip. It's a 90-second clip, like to tell, if you're telling a happy story, how it begins, the middle goes, and how it ends. And that's the same with every other category. Like, tell a story on whatever you're doing. And yeah, like, you know, all the best to everyone that puts their audition clips, because, you know, we need talent. And just to kind of close us out as well, guys, it's been episode 5. Can we get a round of applause?
Can we someday meet up sometime? You know, like lockdowns, restriction.
do it in person. That would be live. Yeah,
we will. And this soon will be changing to you know, I'm not even gonna give that away, but you guys will see. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Make sure you send this out to everybody, as this was a very, very good podcast, and we had some very good like cookies and key points that we had in here as well that can help you as an artist or whatever you want to be in life, because it goes.
Lemzi was dropping them bombs.
I'm with you guys, man. We're having a good convo. I enjoyed it. Honestly, thank you for having me on here. And
no problem. So thank you for appearing on the Hearts to Hearts. We truly appreciate it. And guys, keep an eye out for all our podcasts coming out, for the Hearts of Talent competition, the website. Check it out. We are here to inspire youth, change lives, change futures, and the narratives of everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See you lots next time.
Bye.
Bless.